Hey guys, Mr. Ferguson here on Wrestling with Math. Looking a little different for you today, but a little hard to breathe and talk with this mask on, but we'll make it work here. So I want to look at this picture here. And you know, if I'm hanging out with four friends and it tells us to stay 6 feet apart, well, you know, if I'm 6 feet away from the person across from me and this person is 6 feet away from that person, we're all 6 feet apart, right? Well, if I'm talking about squares here, these guys aren't 6 feet apart. So if they're not wearing masks, they're going to get the coronavirus. All right. So looking at this sign here, might as well throw it out because it's false advertising. All right. So let's use math here to kind of debunk this 6 feet diagonal here. Okay. So let me just kind of change some things around here. You know, I have three other friends that I want to hang out with, and we want to practice proper social distancing here of using that 6 feet if I don't want to wear this mask all the time. So if I were to be standing 6 feet away from my friends, I don't like standing 6 feet away from my friends. I like being close to my friends. They're my friends. I like them. Okay, and they're all standing 6 feet away from each other also. If you look, we have a square here. Okay, they're all right angles there. How far am I actually standing away from the person who's diagonally from me? Well, if I did take a look at this, let's look at it in a math perspective. If I want to find this length here, okay, and if I were to kind of draw this off to the side, we have a right triangle here, in which case this is 6 feet, and this side is 6 feet, and I want to know what that side is, okay? Using Pythagorean theorem or special right triangles, whichever I prefer, or even a right triangle trig, I could figure out what that side length is. I'm going to go ahead and use Pythagorean theorem. So, if you recall Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared, okay? And my a and my b are my legs here, so I have 6 and 6 equals c squared. Well, let's go ahead and solve for c now. 6 squared is 36, plus 36 equals c squared. If I add those together, I get 72 equals c squared. And in order to solve for c, I have to take the square root of both sides. So if I go to my calculator here, I'm taking the square root of 72, and I get c equals 8.485 ... Okay, if I'm going to round to the nearest tenth here, c equals 8.5 feet. So if I'm practicing safe social distancing here, and I'm standing 6 feet away from two of my friends, I would be standing 8.5 feet away from that friend who's diagonally from me. What happens if more friends come to the party? Okay, so I'm going to switch to the screen now, and we're going to talk about what happens if we add one more here, all right? All right, so now we had a fifth person join our little party here, and I want to figure out what the smallest possible pentagon here, or let's call it a coronagon, since we're dealing with this coronavirus and social distancing. Let's see how far away I am from my friends here if everybody's standing 6 feet away from each other. So here I am off in the side, the left-hand side, waving. Okay, and I have four of my friends here. I got wig wearing Corey. I got top hat. I got mask, and I got the crown, the corona crown there. If we are all standing 6 feet away from each other, I really want to find out how far I am personally away from the top hat friend of mine, which would be the same distance that I am away from this mask wearing guy. So here my coronagon, or some people may call it a pentagon, a five-sided figure here. I'm going to use math, and I'm going to figure out exactly how far away I am from these people. So doing some prior knowledge of pentagons or coronagons here, each of these angles is 108 degrees. Okay, if I were to go around that, I'm using the interior angle sum of these figures here, these coronagons, and I am dividing that by 5 to find out how many degrees are in each angle. I'm going to use this triangle in question, and this triangle is actually an isosceles triangle because we have the 6 feet there. If I were to draw a perpendicular bisector down, right down the middle, okay, what that's going to do is it's going to bisect the angle at the top, making those two congruent. So we said they were each 108, so that would be 54 degrees. And it's going to be perpendicular, and it's going to bisect that bottom side there. So now I can't use Pythagorean theorem in this case because I only have one of the sides. So I'm going to have to use right triangle trig. So if you guys remember SOHCAHTOA, you know, way back when, I'm going to use SOHCAHTOA. So what I'm actually going to do, I'm going to label my triangle based on this 54-degree angle. So the side across from that angle is your opposite side. That's the side I'm looking for. I'm going to label that with an X. The perpendicular bisector, the angle bisector, that's my adjacent, and the 6 feet is my hypotenuse. So if I'm going to set this up, I have sine of 54 degrees equals opposite, which in this case is X, over hypotenuse, which is 6. Making sure my calculator is in degree mode, I'm going to multiply both sides by 6, so I have to multiply the right side. Whatever I do to one side, I have to do to the other. That'll cancel out the 6's or divide out the 6's on the right-hand side. 6 times sine of 54 is 4.854 ... equals x. I'm going to round to the nearest tenth here, so I'm going to say x is 4.9 feet. Now remember, this is not how far I am away from this top hat guy, okay? Right here, this side is 4.9 feet. Since the line that I drew, the perpendicular bisector, bisected this bottom side, I could now say that this right-hand side here is also 4.9. So how far am I away from my top hat friend? Well, I'd add 4.9 and 4.9, and I would get 9.8 feet. Which means I'm also 9.8 feet away from this mask here. So if we wanted to create this pentagon here, this coronagon, and practice safe social distancing, I would be 6 feet away from my wig-wearing friend and my crown-wearing friend, but I'd be 9.8 feet away from top hat and mask. Now, again, I could spread out all I wanted to, but I really like my friends. I really want to be as close as possible when we're all hanging out, and I think this is the best way possible. So, what do you guys think if more friends joined our party? Okay, so if you guys have any comments, feel free to comment down below. Like, subscribe, share, whatever you may do, and hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and thanks a lot.